Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to avoid lazy negativity, we decided to make this episode a drinking game. So anytime we say anything negative, guys, with the delayed giggles, anytime we say anything negative at all, you're going to hear this sound. And that sound means that we're drinking, and we hope you drink with us.
So, pour yourselves a glass, and we talk about some movies that make you ask the question, what the fuck was going on in the 90s?
Cheers.
Ah, deliciousness.
Guys, the 90s were fun.
I just took another shot of that stuff that my girlfriend's mother brought back from Spain.
Oh, yeah?
Shout out to
the
Linda.
Nice stuff. The nice stuff. Shout out, Linda.
This is meant to be sipped. It's delicious,
It's
but
meant
not
to be
meant to be
sipped.
shot. Oh. Continue.
I
Hilarious.
nearly passed you for that.
So far tonight, I've had scotch, beer, wine. I've had a little bit of everything. This is going to be a good one.
Wow, you're a rock song.
And I never keep liquids next to my computer. So this might be the last time you ever hear from me, people, if I spill on my...
No, it'll
my
just sound like a nuclear bomb went off, like when John sprayed beer in his microphone.
It's too...
Guys,
Guys,
we're going to be
is
talking
it-
about...
Not to interrupt the show, but is it me who's having all the internet issues, or is it you, Jeff? I'm sensing delays and stuff as well. Is it me?
I'm not
probably-
getting any delays on my end.
Yeah, it's probably me, but now that Dave said that, it's probably you.
All right. I'm going to switch Wi-Fi's. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
I feel like you're good. I have no problem with any of you guys right now.
It's him getting us is the problem.
All right, guys, we're
Yeah,
talking
he just
about...
doesn't get us.
He doesn't get Guys, we're talking about summer blockbuster movies. We're going to take the top grossing, highest earning summer blockbuster movies. We are now in 1992 to 1995. We have already gone from 1980 to 1991. Some highlights have included Raiders of the Lost Ark losing to Empire Strikes Back and
Yeah, now you
Return
don't
of
have to
the
listen to that
Jedi losing to E.T. And then, of course, Back to the Future beating Ghostbusters was contentious. So that's right. We're taking two movies back-to-back years, and we are only letting one advance to ultimately decide what is the best summer blockbuster movie of all time. Got a good list of movies. They're all in the episode notes, as you can see. We're excited to get into it. We're recording on Father's Day. Thank you to all the fathers out there for being such great fathers. I guess not every father's a great father, but thank you. Happy Father's Day to all who celebrate and deserve it. Thank you to my father and brother who is a father for letting me leave my Father's Day celebration to record this podcast with you motherfuckers.
Speaking of dads who maybe don't deserve it, there was a while, like about a year
Jesus,
ago.
what is it? Happy Father's Day.
Ready?
My finger
Ready?
was on the trigger.
There was a while this happened for weeks for a while, where I was getting a call from the small town of Concord, North Carolina, where I grew up, from the local courthouse, telling me that I was behind on my alimony payments, and that I was going to be in, serious trouble, legal ramifications, eventually arrested if I did not come in by a certain date. That means that some dude was giving out a fake number to try to escape the payments.
Either that or you moved and you never got
I
the
was like-
paternity suit.
Oh, dude, I was doing the fastest math you could ever imagine. So to all the good dads out there, and to that guy, fuck you, dude. I'm gonna that's a special one for that dude. All right.
Oh my God. John, when we shout our sponsor out, who has been giving us a lot of issues with Spotify because his music is so
yes.
goddamn
It's
good.
YouTube. It's YouTube.
Okay.
Oh, it is YouTube. Shout out to our musician and artist in residence, Dasein, Dasein, for providing all the music on this episode and every single episode. We have been getting binged by YouTube's copyright infringement algorithm. We're trying to solve that problem, but we also love it.
Apparently, when you're successful, people go try and protect your fucking music. I don't know.
Go take a look on Spotify, YouTube. He's getting some serious plays, and I guess it's kicking into action. So thank you, Dasein, for giving us your music continuously.
All right.
Let's do it, man.
We're going to get back to our program, and we're going to get there very soon. But Dave, any news, any shout outs? Do you want to talk about The Flash now? You want to talk about it when we come back at the end? Dave and I saw it together.
Yeah, I felt in separate seats because we didn't know each of us was going to that screening.
Yeah, the person who went with me was like, couldn't go anymore because he threw up, and then canceled the ticket and was like, he can take that ticket. And I was like, that is on the day of a major opening. You can't, I don't think AMC has the thing where you can just switch seats. I think you have to cancel your reservation and then get a new reservation. That's way too risky on Thursday night of a major opening. So Dave was like, I
mean, it didn't matter. Half the theater was empty, but
oh, that's not really true.
no, it was kind of full. But they did not do well apparently over the weekend.
Really?
I thought it was pretty decent.
They're saying it bombed. It's also been review bombed. It's there's a lot of talk about Flash going around. Let's just get it out of the way. Let's get it out of the way now. Actually, I'll let you look that up while I'm talking.
I will. Keep going.
But basically, a lot of people who are on the negative team of it are making sense, because like I love the movie. I thought it was great fun. I thought it was a way better victory lap than Avengers Endgame. Like they pulled stuff that only the diehard fans would know and shit like that.
I still had a good time, and I have no idea.
A lot of the cameos are fantastic. It was quirky. It was funny. Ezra Miller was fantastic in both of the roles.
It's true.
Which is a shame because, like, from what I hear, not exactly a stable person.
Yep.
And that's still got to be resolved. But I think a lot of people stayed away because of the Ezra Miller thing. And a lot of people, someone actually pointed this out on Twitter today. It's like they don't understand. Warner Brothers is like trying to pin it on all the review bombing that everyone gave it. And not on the fact that there are 9 seasons of The Flash available for free that's done almost every Flash storyline that finished 3 weeks before this movie opened.
Yeah, our buddy...
It's like they're flashed out.
Yeah, our buddy Mr. Grant Gustin, who played him on the series, that series was kind of renowned critically for off and on throughout its run, and they had a fantastic finish apparently. Just as an outsider who didn't really anticipate this movie very much, that was confusing to me, that they were trying to not acknowledge the fact that there's a whole group of fans that were probably feeling very cathartic by the end of that. Yeah. And then they try to kind of reboot some storylines that have already been told on that show in a movie.
And there's some weird, like, well, I will spoil one of the cameos right now, so skip ahead if you don't want to get spoiled. But there's a bit where they show an alternate Flash, and it's the Jay Garrett Flash. But it looks so much like the Jay Garrett from the Flash series.
Oh, what?
And but then they've had an interview with the guy who played him, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I wasn't in it. I'm like taking care of a kid at the moment. I was not in the DC movie. So if they've got that image, it wasn't me."
Jesus,
not his kid, just some kid he found.
It's just some kid he found. That's what they do in Hollywood.
I did hear somebody at the end of the movie. I'm not shitting you. I'm not shitting you. Somebody at the end of the movie went, "There's no Grant Gustin." There's no Grant Gustin. She said it twice. Dude. She said it twice, back to back. Like that's how mad she was about it.
What happened there? Was it filmed and they cut it because they did it the other way? Ezra turned up in The Flash at one point.
Yeah. Oh shit! Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the series, The Flash, folks. So Ezra Miller appeared in the series, The Flash. Grant Gustin is the lead of the series. So just to give you a little number. $55 million for opening weekend, U.S. and Canada. That's not strong. Versus, just to give us a little context from this year, one of the biggest openings in recent history, biggest opening of this summer, Super Mario Brothers, opening weekend domestic, U.S. and Canada, $146 million. Just to give you an idea of like what a great opening would be. So that's a shame.
Spider-Verse came slightly under that as well. The difference being this had a $220 million budget and Spider-Verse had like what, $80 million budget or something.
Both of these movies had incredible. So to anybody out there who's like, well, I don't want to see it because of Ezra Miller, I totally understand that. Just think about this. He doesn't have any other jobs lined up. He is not working regardless of the success of this. And that credit roll
I think we're still on they for Ezra.
Oh, sorry. That credit roll at the end of this film had so many visual effects artists, so many people who worked so hard on this movie that I'm glad for their sake the movie did come out, because when I was watching that, I was blown away by how many people worked on this movie. And of course, there's a lot that work on every movie, but it's like the fact that one person can sink this movie by their antics. It's too bad.
Also, the CG when they get into like the Flashverse, it does look a little bit like the first Harry Potter movies game of Quidditch, where everyone's just a little bit too smooth. But apparently, that was a directorial choice. Like they deliberately, I can see that meeting right now. It's like, the guys at Weta or whoever did that sequence sitting there going, but if we do it like that, the whole internet will think we did it cheaply. It's like, no, this is what I want. This is what for fuck's sake, there's going to be so many emails. They're going to bag us on Reddit. But no, it was a choice. They made that look was chosen. So it's not bad CGI. That was what they wanted to present.
I agree.
Do you still think I should go see it? I haven't seen it yet.
I think you'd have fun.
I do actually,
because especially having covered like a lot of Batman movies in the last couple of weeks.
I
feel like you would enjoy it.
And we're in that
Seeing
weird
him pop
time.
up, yeah.
We already have the new Wes Anderson movies playing in release, so you can go see. There's so much out, but I still think it was great. All right, this segment is out. People, we have to move on so we can get into our featured segment, which
Jeffrey,
of course is
the stickler, keeping us on track.
Yeah, me of all people. Yeah. Guys, you know what I thought about? This is our segue into the films that we're going to be discussing today. The only movie, this is our 194th episode? 195th episode that we've done together? Wow. The only, so we've done 5 episode movies. So we've done 5 movie episodes. We've done 3 episode movies. What the fuck, man? We've done 3 movie episodes. We've done 2 movie episodes. So we probably talked about like 400 movies on this podcast. The only movie we've talked about twice is fucking Batman Forever. It's the only one. This is the first one that we're going to have to talk about 2 separate times. If only Jeff Ronan were
That's
here.
Also, just to point out a funny, that's weird. This is our 195th episode. We're ending with 95, the year.
That's right. So
look at that.
So here we are. We're in the 90s, 1992 versus 1993. And 1994 versus 1995. So coming up later in the show, you are going to hear, of course,
Jeff didn't have
Batman
that page
Forever.
open.
Batman Forever and The Lion King. The Lion King is the highest grossing summer movie of 1994, and Batman Forever is the highest grossing summer movie of 1995. More on that in a second, because that was a very close year. There were a lot of movies that were very close at the box office that year. But first, right now, we are going to battle Batman Returns, which is, of course, is the Danny DeVito Penguin Batman, for those of you who are confused. And that movie is going to be up against 1993's
Jurassic
Park.
Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we do this to ourselves?
Boy.
All the wires got switched in my brain. That's right.
He did list the amount of alcohol he'd had before this show.
That's correct. 1992, people. I can't wait. So, 1992.
Your drink light's still on, Jeff.
Returns. John, talk to us what was going on in 1992.
All right, this one was pretty clean. Batman Returns clearly at number 1 with about a 20 million start on everybody else. Number 2, and number 3 for the summer. I'm going to count them because they came out in mid to late May, but Lethal Weapon 3 at number 2, and then Sister Act at the end of May coming in at number 3. So remember, folks, we're a little fudgy on the May to September, that Memorial Day, Labor Day kind of ish for our summer. So I'm going to count both of those. But a little movie that you may have also... And this is
domestic as well, right?
Correct. Yeah, these are domestic numbers. Some other movies that you may have heard of from that year that are definitely worth mentioning. Home Alone motherfucking 2. What another good 2 sequel. Batman Returns and then Home Alone 2. Aladdin. Quick little anecdote about Aladdin. So this was 1992, folks. That was the first time I went to a movie theater and I told my parents, guys, I'm sitting alone and I'm sitting at the front. And they sat in the back, and I went to the front and watched that movie by myself, and it had a life-changing effect on me. More to come with that.
Yeah,
Wayne's motherfucking World. Yeah, shut up. Wayne's World. We Are Not Worthy, coming in at number 6 of that year. Fucking fantastic. Excellent. Let me just reel off some others. Basic Instinct, A League of Their Own, The Bodyguard, Patriot Games, Under Siege, Fried Green Tomatoes, A Few Good Motherfucking Men, White Men Can't Jump, Last of the Mohicans. This is the 90s, baby. Every fucking movie in the top 50 you have heard of. This was like a golden age. We talked about it a lot. I mean, it really is just unbelievable. Jeff's favorite movie, My Cousin Vinny, number 28. Fuck yeah. Still top 30. Come on, getting in there. Malcolm X, Spike Lee, Denzel coming hot. I mean, that's fucking fantastic. A River Runs Through It. Sure. Yeah, so many fantastic ones. JFK, we've talked about that on this podcast before, coming in at number 50. So, yeah. Jeff, any specials you want to shout out?
I want to come back to Batman Returns a little bit, but just so you know, on the worldwide box office, if you count the full opening run, because some movies did come out at the end of the year, Batman Returns actually the 6th highest grossing film of the year. So we're now in that weird area here, because it goes Aladdin number 1 if you count worldwide gross over a long period of time. The Bodyguard number 2, Home Alone 2, Basic Instinct, Lethal Weapon, then Batman Returns. Batman Returns is the 3rd highest grossing Warner Brothers movie. It technically did not do well at the box office. They were not happy about it. We'll get back to that in a second. Some notable things. Alan Menken won 4 Oscars in 2 years and 6 Oscars in 4 years for all of his Disney movies, and I'm pretty sure he accepted all of them in a mullet. But yeah, so he won 2 for Aladdin this year for A Whole New World and for his score. And Newsies also came out this year. So good year for Alan Menken and terrible year for mullets. Maybe that's why they were retired. They saw him accept these awards and go, nope, not a good look.
Yep.
Best film is all over the place. So you have Scent of a Woman, The Player, Howard's End won the BAFTA, Unforgiven won the Oscar. So the awards were kind of scattered back then as opposed to nowadays where everybody wins the same fucking thing. Clint Eastwood wins Best Director everywhere except Robert Altman won for The Player at the BAFTAs. Al Pacino gets his Oscar for Scent of a Woman, except Robert Downey Jr. won for Chaplin at the BAFTAs, a young Robert Downey Jr. playing Chaplin. Emma Thompson wins Best Actress for Howard's End, and Gene Hackman sweeps every imaginable category for Unforgiven and Best Supporting Actor. Joan Plowright in Enchanted April, Miranda Richardson. Marissa Tomei very famously beat them at the Oscars, even though she didn't win any supporting awards.
Yeah,
and Woody Allen
they still claim that was a mistake that was covered up.
And I'm okay with that. She deserves her Oscar.
Is still flying around, but no, she was awesome.
It's very strange. A couple other shout outs here. I'm going to say, and we'll tease this for the future years coming up here in a second. Just a few movies I want to point out, but this is the age that was great for kids. I feel like kids' movies nowadays pander. How good? There were so many good kids' movies, so we'll get there in a second. A couple things shouting out besides Reservoir Dogs. Forever Young, 3 motherfucking ninjas. How did this not crack the top 10, people? The Mighty Ducks. Again, John said Wayne's World, but good for kids.
Oh my God, I have seen those movies so many times.
Yeah, again, fantastic time for kids at the movies. For Richer or Poorer with Tim Allen and Kirstie Alley was always on TV, so that was in there. For your theater people, you got Noises Off and Of Mice and Men. You got Ladybugs with Rodney Dangerfield was always on TV. White Men Can't Jump, the first Beethoven. Thunderheart, Sleepwalkers, Encino Man, Sister Act, I think you said, House Sitter, Honey, I Blew Up the Kids, the sequel, the Joss Whedon Buffy movie. Came out this year. Death Becomes Her with Meryl Streep. We talked about that. I talked about that on a different podcast. I talked about it on Film versus Film podcast. Death Becomes Her. Robert Zemeckis, Meryl Streep. Little Nemo. Is it? If you really want a creepy, give you nightmares,
so good,
animated movie, Little Nemo really fucked me up.
Isn't
that was
that
the scariest.
A Roald Dahl? Yeah.
That was the
Roald
scariest
Dahl?
animated movie for me that I saw. Honeymoon in Vegas, School Ties, Singles, Mr. Saturday Night, Glengarry Glen Ross, Lorenzo Sawyers, Mr. Baseball, you gotta love, Under Siege, Candyman, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Toys, Hoffa, Saved by the Bell, Hawaiian Style, and last but not least, possibly the best Christmas movie of all time, The Muppets Christmas Carol, 1993.
Wow.
David, anything you want to say about these?
Did you say 1993?
Yeah, I mean, when the Muppets
92.
Yeah, when Muppets Christmas Carol came out, it was like over. You can stop making Christmas Carol movies.
Yeah, we did.
It is.
I love Christmas Vacation, but that was before this, so that was it. Yeah, and Home Alone.
Well, I mean, Christmas Carol
too.
movies, because oh my God, there's so fucking many of them.
Touche.
Yeah, sure. Plenty of them.
All right, Batman Returns. Last thing, $80 million budget for Batman Returns. The original movie made $411 million worldwide, but this one made $359 on more than double the budget. I mean, no, that's not even true. It only made $266 million worldwide on an $80 million budget, which if you factor in marketing costs, yeah, they sold a lot of t-shirts and stuff, but if you factor in advertising and marketing, this movie basically didn't make very much money. It did well in rentals and stuff, but part of the reason was that it was actually, we were very prude in the 90s. It was considered too adult and too sexual in nature. McDonald's refused to promote the film doing their traditional cross-promotion that they used to do in the 90s with movies. They refused to because of its sexual nature of Catwoman. The way that Catwoman was described was too sexual in leather. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The 90s are so fucking prude.
Also, Danny DeVito dropping lines like, just the pussy I've been waiting for. Like.
Yeah, that's true. But what's funny is they actually... Tim Burton was dragging to sign up to do this movie. He didn't like the first movie. He didn't like his own movie because he figured like half of it wasn't even his. So they hired a different scriptwriter who obviously Tim Burton ended up firing. But they actually made it more like a Harley Quinn type character for Catwoman, which was even more sexual. So they actually toned down Catwoman to make her a little bit more real, to make it a little bit more like masochistic, like basically fuck men, which obviously is in this movie. But apparently because of using sex appeal to appeal to Bruce Wayne and to use that, apparently that was too much for people, even though... Also,
the McDonald's McPussy was vetoed.
Where's my mother?
Jesus Christ.
Got it.
Oh, that's good.
All right, Dave, Did you rewatch
Yes.
this movie this week? You
Yes, I did.
At the Flash, we were talking about it. All right, why don't you kick us off here? Talk to us.
I mean, it's one of those ones where you just get a dream cast and you're like, oh shit, this is like awesome. Like you got Michael Keaton reprising as Batman. You got Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. Have you seen the clip where she does the whip scene, the behind the scenes clip, and she nails it in one take? Like she took those heads off with the whip. Yeah, on the dummies.
Wow.
Yeah, and of course Danny DeVito. Slowly becoming more Danny DeVito the crazier he gets. See, when he starts off his acting, by the end of it, it's just fucking Danny DeVito in a fat suit, like
talking to penguins. Yeah.
And but yeah, this was definitely like they went from a single villain to they started to bring in the menagerie a little bit, and this really worked for me.
And Walken, Christopher.
Yeah. Oh God.
So
yeah.
good.
Shit. How can I leave him out? Yeah. As a villain, he was like, yeah, I'm evil. What are you gonna do about it? Like,
So you did rewatch it?
Yeah.
And when was the last time you think you had seen it? Were you a fan of this one? Like, after it came out, did you rewatch it quite a bit? Or
I did. Yeah, quite a lot.
This was always on cable. It was always on TV.
Also, my screening of this when I went to see it in the movies was stopped due to a fire alarm. We all got evacuated to the car park. And then, of course, they're like, oh, yeah, there's no fire. Everyone went back in and went, start the movie from where you left off. Let's go. Like, no one was leaving. No one wanted the refund. It's like, start that fucking movie again. I need to see the end of this.
Wow.
And, it was fun. This was good fun. It's campy, not too campy. Yeah. My absolute favorite scene is when they throw the mistletoe line around the second time. Because they say, a kiss under the mistletoe, eating mistletoe can be deadly. A kiss can be deadlier if you mean it, or whatever. It's something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But then at the ball, they accidentally say it to each other backwards and realize who each other is.
Yeah.
And the look on Michelle Pfeiffer's face just gets you every time. She's like, "Do we have to fight now?" And I'm just like, "Oh."
Yeah,
it was going so well for you.
It's such a sexy scene too. I love that an obvious choice.
Because she's literally trying to get him out of the room to bang him. Yeah, and then that happens. She's like, "Oh shit."
Well, also, I love that it's a masquerade ball, right?
Yeah, and they're not masks.
The only people not wearing masks are them. It's just there's so many. This movie, I feel like more than anything, just to count me in, I rewatched this last year, and I think I watched it when we were doing franchise. So I had seen it twice in a couple years. I did not watch it again this week, but still really fresh. I was more into this one as a kid than I was the first one. And I guess it's because, remember how last week we were talking about how the first Batman really doesn't have that much action per se. Not that this one has tons of action, relative to like modern movies. It still doesn't have tons of action.
A character runs for mayor. It's not exactly like, Fast X.
But there was something terrifying about DeVito's Penguin that captivated me as a child. And I do feel like I was like one of those people who, I bet most people who were my age were deemed too young to see this movie. But of course I still saw it. Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman is just... She was so sexy. Like I made the comment about Jessica Rabbit. This is probably number 2 in line when she says meow and, when she's just becoming her. There is something that I kind of can't believe she was allowed to pull off and still be believably just so much more than a sexual object. Like she did bring a lot of sexuality to it, but she still was believably fierce and powerful and conniving. And yeah.
Somebody tried to do that with the Catwoman character in Gotham when they introduced it, but the difference was she was like 15.
Yeah, she was so young. Yeah,
and she's like licking herself and acting like a cat. And I think it was the second episode of Gotham, and someone took him in a room that week and went, "Don't ever fucking do that again," because she never acted like that ever again in the series.
I actually watched the first season of Gotham, and you're right. I love the opening of this, where they basically do like the Moses opening, right, with the baby in the cradle going down the sewer.
So good.
And then 33 years later.
Yeah, it's just like fucking 10 Commandments, right? It's like it's very weird, similar. And they have that Gothic choir that I think Harry Potter ripped off a couple of years later. That just it's like creepy Gothic choir. This is my favorite. This is my favorite Batman movie growing up. The Joel Schumacher movies, the lighting of it, and I love the we'll talk about this later, but the way that the Bat Cave looked was so much cooler, the Val Kilmer Batman and such, whereas this is like dirty and decrepit, which is also in the Flash movie. A little bit of a spoiler, I guess, there. Did you guys know Benedict Cumberbatch can't say the word penguin?
What?
Do you guys ever see this? Benedict Cumberbatch, did voiceover for like this nature thing, and he couldn't say penguin. He was like penguin. He was saying penguin a lot. Anyway.
Penguins.
Yeah, and the way Christopher Walken says baubles is worth everything. This movie. Oh wait, John, Vincent Schiavello from Ghost, the guy that you never remember what movies he's in. As soon as I saw him, I was like, "You, John."
That is him. He's the leader of the circus, or his penguin. He's like the leader of the penguin gang. Yeah,
it's a callback to last week, people. But yeah, this was by far my favorite Batman movie of the '90s growing up because it was so creepy, but it was intoxicating at the same time. The Penguin story, and also the way they use the gags that I don't know enough about the old series to like really comment on it, but the way they use the umbrellas in this movie, Go-Go Gadget helicopter, the way he uses it as like the make you pass out kind of thing, it just had that old school comic-y TV show feel to it as well.
It's just meant to give you a splitting headache.
The kid 25 different, and then of course it turns into a machine gun and stuff, and it can make you fly. Like, it's just all of that works so well for me. And of course I love Catwoman, but the Penguin was the one that really enticed me. The shamelessness of Danny DeVito eating a fucking raw fish while he's announcing his run for mayor.
When he bites the guy's nose.
Could be worse. My nose could be gushing blood. Yeah.
When he says that line before he bites the guy's nose, he's like, it could be worse. I could have my nose bit off. And the guy's like, what? And then he bites it. Like as a kid, like the suspense that I had in those like 3 seconds before he actually did it. Yeah, this is it. The thing that is curious is I don't think about Batman that much in the rewatch. I think about the other characters. And Michael Keaton's amazing in this movie, but it's like Penguin steals the movie for me.
It's definitely something they run into as they start introducing these villains, because the villains are bigger than Batman. And
Walken's such a good character.
Isn't that a similar? We can make a parallel for Dark Knight with that, can't we? Like Begins is obviously Batman's origin, and Dark Knight, you do start to think of Batman as the straight man within this context of like how these villains evolve and their origins and how they affect him.
I don't know enough about how Bruce Wayne operates in this world. I think that's something that the Chris Nolan ones did so much better, is that he didn't, in the first one, I guess he was just wealthy and famous, but we didn't see him as a town leader. We didn't see him as that like person, like the head of Goldman Sachs or something that goes to meetings and does the events. I don't see him that, like, even in this one, he shows up and he's like, he has clout and class and he can just walk in and get a meeting with Christopher Walken's character, but I don't see any other relationship that Bruce Wayne has. So I really think that if they built out the Bruce Wayne, that could have held Michael Keaton in this as opposed to just the Batman stuff. But because I love the idea of the mask with the who's crazy? I'm not in a mask, right? That's the Joker line from before, but it essentially gets relived here where the Penguin's running for mayor. He's like, I'm not hiding, and Batman is. I just don't see enough Bruce Wayne in this. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. More than anything, I think it really is just the tone. Looking back on these movies, it's just really made me realize it's not that Tim Burton isn't still extremely talented and still making movies, but this was he just had such a unique vision. And the fact that he was able to make these giant studio pictures and have such an impact on what we thought of commercial cinema with this, theatrical, over the top campiness, very, very stylized aesthetic. It's something really unique. And I just feel like we were really lucky that they gave somebody like him an opportunity to make something. Something I feel like
this movie is the perfect midpoint between the TV series and Batman Begins. There's definitely some ominous there, but they've got the camp of the previous show, like with the umbrella gags and stuff like that. I didn't know. I only just noticed on this rewatch when the Penguins are marching through Gotham, some of those sets were miniatures. I never noticed this before.
So some of those sets are miniatures, and Dave, you'll like this. I went to, God damn it, Michael Fink. Michael Fink was the special effects head. He retired from USC this past year, and I got to go to a talk with him and a bunch of new age special effects people, and he referenced this movie quite a bit because it was one of the very first times that they used a combination of miniatures and digitals to create the marching penguins. And it was one of the first movies where they ever really pulled it off successfully, and it was like a huge step forward with ILM and using crowd CGI. And he just, a lot of his references were to this, and then over the ages. So I just wanted to mention that, just because.
And then Lord of the Rings came along and stole crowd CGI.
Exactly. Oh, of course. But it was like, we can do that. How do we get 10,000 orcs?
Yeah, and the penguin eating raw fish was so Smeagol-like. You know, Lord of the Rings, like, yeah,
very, very Smeagol-like.
No,
Jeff,
you
mentioned
the thing that Weta wrote for their crowd dynamics was it would take one 3D model and like regenerate like 1,000 of them, but they would act about their environment. So if there was a log, it would jump over the log.
I think my favorite. I think Jeff, you were talking about like Bruce Wayne in action as Bruce Wayne. For me, I think this movie really popped and transcended the series and what the first one had done because of the political angle. There's such an obvious Commissioner Gordon and these tenant characters that are going to make us think about the crime dynamic, but other than Harvey Dent, like, of course there's going to be a political angle. We have a fucking vigilante out there. It's not just like the police, Detective Commissioner Gordon, and the newspapers. What is happening with the politics? So I really like that they just put it front and center. And I love the artifice. They do it in the first one. They do it here that like the mayor is running and there's like 30 people that listen to his speeches on a street corner. I love that. Only in Tim Burton's world could we believe that that's like, all of Gotham is listening to this guy talk. I don't know. There's just, I really appreciate that. But more than anything, it's the scariness. It's still, it really stuck with me. That movie freaked me out.
I love that they went risky with the sexism. It was so blatantly sexist. Christopher Walken, meaning the characters. So Christopher Walken, with like the way he treated Michelle Pfeiffer, nobody should ever be treated that way. So when she turned to Catwoman, it was so justified. The original script actually had her killing more men. She actually killed more men in the original script that got cut. But I love that they didn't shy away from that. And I mean, in the last one, I said it, I kind of made a joke about the fact that like we were rooting for like the venture capitalist billionaire and not like the working man or whatever. But in this movie, I love that Christopher Walken's character is such an obvious villain, and the way he's pretending to be such a giving person, giving some money away while he's rigging the whole system so that he could make money and screw everybody else. I think it works so well. Also, a great hydraulic lift program in the sewers. Really great how they figured out.
Yeah. They really took care of their sanitation workers.
Yeah.
Dave, do you think those were fake penguins that walk the penguin's body out at the very end?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they looked real as fuck. Like that shot when the king penguins are holding his body and coasting it out, that fucking terrified me. This is such a weird throw out image, but one of the snapshots I have of this movie is when the woman who's announcing in the penguin's lair just disappears into black.
Yep.
Like, who was she and where did she come from and where did she go? Like that I don't know. There were so many weird things, like, when you're a kid, these images stay with you for no reason at all. That bothered me a lot. I remember like, where did his people go? Everyone's just abandoned.
She got away.
This is great. Dave, you nailed it. This is just, he just becomes Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
At the end of this, Frank from It's Always Sunny is just ranting in a fucking zoo sewer by the end of this movie. It's fucking brilliant.
We'll wrap it up here by saying Warner Brothers really wanted to cast Marlon Brando as the Penguin, and Tim Burton did, and Warner Brothers was like, "Fuck no, we want Dustin Hoffman," and somehow they got to Danny DeVito. And also, Tim Burton really wanted to incorporate Robin into this, and ultimately cut it out, but he really wanted to cast the Black Robin, so he had signed a contract. Marlon Wayans could have been Robin in this movie. Wonder how that would have changed his career.
Weird.
But they ended up writing him out of the scripts. And then when Joel Schumacher took over, he recast his own Robin. And of course, it was Chris O'Donnell, who we'll talk about later. Weird, right?
Last little point I'll make, a little trivia. I thought this was fun. It's right on the IMDb trivia page. A lot of great stuff. Warner Brothers, obviously these tentpole things, they matter so much. This is an enormous backlot. For anyone who doesn't know, like, there are different stages, sound stages on these massive backlots these studios own that are dedicated to television shows and movies that are being shot. Supposedly 50% of the Warner Brothers lot was taken up with Gotham City sets when they were making this. That is just an incredible investment from the studio.
It looks like the one Gotham set piece was just used over and over again, that square. So that square must have been huge.
Stage 16, I'm sure.
They should have been using bodyguard sets, because that last time I went through doubled this and gross.
Yeah, last time I went through the Warner Brothers lot, the City Hall was trashed because they were filming a Call of Duty commercial for PlayStation.
Oh, sweet, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
When you guys watch this on Max, did you have sound issues? I had to have my sound on 75 in order to listen to this. I had to crank it as much as possible. I could not hear this if it was not on 75.
I watched it last year, but it was... No, I didn't have that issue last year.
All right, cool, guys. So we got to move on. Dave, your segment timer is fucked up. Your segment timer is not right. I don't know what's going on.
No, it's absolutely right. We've wasted all of that talking about Batman?
No, because we started like 20 minutes, or you started the segment time where we were talking about The Flash or something. There's no way that we only are going to have 5 minutes to talk about 1993.
Welcome back to the show when we talk about the segment timer.
1993. People, this movie.
What is it, Jeff? What is the movie?
Jurassic Park.
Oh, my God.
Is going to be competing against Batman Returns. Jurassic Park, Batman Returns. What is the better summer movie? We are going to decide right here in 1 second.
5 minutes go.
At the end of this segment. Jurassic Park. John, what were some of the highest grossing movies of 1993?
So again, just for domestic, just for the summer, this one was really clean. 1, 2, 3 top grossing movies of the year. Jurassic Park, The Fugitive, and The Firm. That's what I have according to the numbers. Fantastic movie. God damn it, I love The Fugitive. It's so good.
We talked about it. Go through our feed.
Yeah, just to give you an idea, though, I didn't do this last time, but the distance between The Fugitive, which was number 2, coming in around 184 million for the summer, for the year, but opening in that summer. Jurassic Park, just domestic, because it's way more worldwide, was about 340. So it's just like, I mean, on a whole other planet of success, as he tended to do when he knocked it out of the park. Some other big movies from that year: Sleepless in Seattle, Give It Up, Nora Ephron, Mrs. Doubtfire, Indecent Proposal, fucking Cliffhanger, The Pelican Brief, Groundhog Day, classic. I love to see that. Still a classic. It's at number 12, top 20. I'm glad to know that. Dave, do you remember that Kevin Kline
I love
movie?
that movie.
Yeah,
that was so good.
Great. Fucking Cool Runnings, love that movie. The Crying Game.
To make you of a bobsled.
Rookie of the Year, The Three Musketeers. I was talking about that movie the other night for no reason at all.
Did you see the new version of Dave they made that's gender changed?
No.
It's Melania.
No.
What?
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
It's reality TV.
I don't know my buzzer up.
I got you. I'll get him. The Nightmare Before Christmas. Sister Act 2, Made in America, Addams Family Values, Wayne's World 2. Wow, they really pumped out Wayne's World fast,
and Sister
didn't
Act.
They made that sequel
and
that
Sister
year.
Act 2. Sister Act 2 is fast too. Yeah,
Sister Act 2 was fast.
Back in the habit.
Hocus Pocus, Give It Up, Hot Shots Part 2, Beverly Hillbillies, Robin Hood Men in Tights. God almighty, I love that movie.
Is part 2 is the one that has the Wall Street joke in it, right? It's hailed as one of the best jokes in one of those comedy movies ever.
I loved you in Wall Street. Yeah. That's part 2.
It is the famous. If you know a joke from Hot Shots, it's probably from part 2. That one I feel like was way more successful. Funny. It resonated a lot. Excuse me. Age of Innocence, a Scorsese movie that did not do quite as well. Still came in the top 50. Jeff, come at me. There's a bunch of other movies that we've all heard of, but
yeah, 1993. So, I'll come back to Jurassic Park in a second. Mrs. Doubtfire was number 2 worldwide, then The Fugitive, and Schindler's List was actually 4th worldwide. All of them made over $300 million. The original run, so just the 1993 run of Jurassic Park, made over $900 million worldwide. It was by far the highest grossing movie ever to that time, more than Star Wars, more than anything else that had come before it.
Almost $1 billion.
Its opening weekend topped $50 million. This is the first movie to ever top 50, and it would be the highest grossing movie for, I think, 4 years. I think another movie we have will have beaten it.
And folks, just really quickly, guys, just don't look at it. Just take a guess. What do you think the budget for Jurassic Park was?
Well, he hired 2 teams to do the effects.
We were talking about The Flash earlier at the beginning of this episode. 200 million. Dave's coming in 120. Jeff, what you got?
I would say under 100, but I would say like 80. 85.
$63 million.
Yeah. Nice.
$900 million return. Yeah. Oh my God! Oh my!
No wonder they're still making them.
And with re-releases and stuff, it's top 1.1 billion, and the rentals, it's its own. Who knows how much it's actually?
Yeah, how many times did you check out this fucking VHS tape?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, VHS was shredded by the end.
Until you bought your own and then rip. Yeah.
Other things that happened this year, actor Brendan Lee was accidentally killed on the set of The Crow. Famous story. Super Mario Brothers was a box office bomb, but it lived on to be a cult classic. That is, of course, Bob Hoskins.
And I really like that movie.
Yes.
And John Leguizamo. Last Action Hero also bombed. That was disappointing. So sorry to Arnie, but it came out the week. Movie. But it came out the week after Jurassic Park, and so people were still hearing Jurassic Park, and it was all real. And then, of course, this is the year that River Phoenix
Tom Cruise is
accidentally overdosed.
In a couple of weeks.
Talk about River Phoenix overdosing, and he's River Phoenix accidentally overdosed on Halloween this year while he was filming The Dark Blood, but of course was not on set when this happened. Oscar categories: Tom Hanks won for Philadelphia, famously beating Daniel Day-Lewis for In the Name of the Father. Holly Hunter won for The Piano for Best Actress. Angela Bassett for What's Love Got to Do with It won the Golden Globe for Best Comedy Lead Actress Performance. Tommy Lee Jones, clean sweep in The Fugitive, except Ray Fiennes won the BAFTA for Schindler's List. And then it was about the kids. Winona Ryder won the Golden Globe for Age of Innocence, but Anna Paquin at 11 years old, that is right, that Anna Paquin won an Oscar for The Piano. And Bruce Springsteen, of course, won an Oscar for Streets of Philadelphia. Other notable films: Leprechaun, Sniper, which would go on to have 8 straight-to-video sequels. Sniper, Disney's Homeward Bound, touching. The Vanishing, Born Yesterday, Elijah Wood and Courtney B. Vance, and Huck Finn. The Sandlot. I told you the kids movies are starting to come out. Benny and June, Boiling Point, Much Ado About Nothing, Hot Shots Part 2. You said Sliver, Cliffhanger, Sleepless in Seattle, The Firm, and just in July. This is July, right? And so Jurassic Park and Last Action Hero came out in June. Rookie of the Year, Weekend at Bernie's 2, Free Willy, Boneheads, Robin Hood's Men in Tights, and So I Married an Axe Murderer all came out in July that year. Then after that, Searching for Bobby Fischer.
And that's all the time we've got to talk about Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Dazed and Confused, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Rudy, Carlito's Way, Demolition Man. Okay, we can move on.
Unbelievable how
A Bronx
many
Tale.
great movies you just
True
named.
Romance, guys. Come on. Okay,
True Romance. All right, where do we even begin? How many times do you think y'all have seen this movie in your life? Like, I'm not, we're hyperbolic sometimes. For me, it's probably at least 40 or 50 times. I know that probably around there. Like, I can't imagine how many times I watched it as a kid. And I know I've seen it at least 10 to 20 times as an adult.
Dave?
It's up there. I have a lot of fond memories about this. I went and saw it in the cinema when it first came out, and I took a friend from college, and she was not ready for the shit that went down in this movie at all.
Yeah.
Like that scene where they pull up in the field, and it's just absolutely wondrous. Like I wish I could see that in the biggest screen possible. I want those dinosaurs to be life size. I have since
the field,
but when they pull up and see the Brontosaurus for the first time. The first big dinosaur reveal. It's just, you're just sitting there with your fucking jaw on your chest.
If only the score was better. If only that moment could have been highlighted by a better theme. Jesus.
And John Williams
because I know it's a joke.
And John Williams did not win Best Score.
Unreal. Unbelievable.
But when I went and saw this, the one scene where it's during the Velociraptor stuff at the end, and where she's climbing up in the pipe and it jumps. This girl pulled her legs up onto the chair. She was that into this movie. It had her well and truly. And then when Laura Dern finally flicks the switch and leans back, and the Velociraptor comes out of the wiring, out of her chair, running down the aisle. She got about
Mr.
4 steps down the aisle.
We're back in business.
Out of her chair, 4 stairs down the aisle before she came back and sat down, really embarrassed. So this definitely had the capacity to grab you.
For me, this is the cheesy. When I look back, Aladdin, I count both of these. Aladdin was the first time I kind of had my own experience, but Jurassic Park was the first time I sat in an audience conscious of what was happening, and I was watching an entire room. I saw this in one of those great old $1.50 theaters near my town where I grew up. So it was a giant balcony, 1920s theater, huge 80-foot screen, and I felt 400 adults freak the fuck out. Yeah. And I was like, this is magic. This is incredible. I was probably too young to have seen it on the big screen, but my God, it affected me so much. I just can't understand. I can't say it too little. This was my Star Wars, for people who saw Star Wars when they were younger and it made them want to make movies. This just changed everything for me.
I should be clear. John Williams wasn't nominated for this because they submit Schindler's List. It was the same company, so they didn't even submit Jurassic Park because they thought he would win for Schindler's List. So to be fair, he should have a 6th Oscar for this. And because Steven Spielberg, get this, filmed Jurassic Park and then went straight to Schindler's List and then said, George Lucas, please help me out. This is the first movie that I know gave me nightmares. I mean, other things I'm sure Ursula gave me nightmares and, the Beast and shit, but I was young. I saw this at a YMCA after, because every kid loves dinosaurs. So I remember very vividly having nightmares for a very long time after seeing this movie, as if I thought dinosaurs would attack me. You know what I mean? As if I thought I was unsafe being in the middle of New Jersey.
I was you didn't go at that age and see part 2 then.
Oh no, part 2 fucked me up. When the kids in the bedroom, that for sure. I like literally would look out my window and be like, I think a dinosaur might be staring me in the face after this. This movie fucked me up so much. It is so good, and you have to watch the ILM documentary or the movies that made us when they talk about doing the original rendering, and they get everybody in the room just to watch that like 20-second model of the T-Rex running in the forest, and then basically literally just from one dinosaur running, they went, oh my god, we can make this whole movie. It's wild.
There was like I've said this in a previous episode, but like my hat goes off to the guys because this is where the Render Man renderer came from, basically, and they had to code the material to go on the CG dinosaur because there's no material for dinosaur skin with rain on it. Like,
yeah, right.
It's like they had to code that from scratch, and that's where that sort of custom build kind of started, I think.
I'm gonna
and the sound.
just grab their names because I feel like they're so famous. Was it Rocky? One of them? Am I misremembering that dude's name? It was those two guys that like did this together. One of them led the render, effects by himself, but the other dude was like they were like the two who were really working on this technology.
Yeah,
damn, I wish I could remember their names. Yeah. God damn it!
I did know it for a while, but we haven't talked about this in a long time.
When was the last time you rewatched? Did you watch it this week? I watched it. This was my. I think I mentioned on the podcast, but Elizabeth and I watched this with E.T. for a double feature Halloween night this past year for Halloween. This was our double feature. And I'd seen it, probably at least once a year. Yeah. Honestly, I've seen this movie so many times.
Yeah, and I mean, this is one of those ones that anytime you find it on, it's like, yeah, I'm going to watch that.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and this is going to be a big moment. But I think this is going to win this entire competition.
Wow.
I think this
can beat Star Wars and
I think it might. I'm not saying that I'm going to just vote for it every time, but I think this might be the best blockbuster of all time.
I mean, it is definitely, it left an impression on a whole, like multiple generations.
How many people do you know who say that this might be their favorite movie? Like,
whenever people do a Spielberg top 5 and don't put this in their top 5, I hate that person. You know what I mean? I know he's made good movies, but this is a it's perfect movie. It's perfect.
I mentioned it. We talked about did we talk about the Jurassic Park movies on the franchise Face-Off? And we ended up removing them because we just said, unfortunately, most of it just isn't nearly as good as the first one. Did we do it?
Yeah, because we got so mad at Jurassic World. We rewatched it and we were like, God damn it.
So just to remind people, my biggest argument for why I think this movie is so incredibly brilliant, and there is an argument to be made for why, certainly in the 80s and 90s, why he might have been his generation's Hitchcock. He found a way to, in his wonderful Amblin, all the family is welcome into regular people getting into unusual circumstances. He found a way to sneak a brilliant horror movie into an adventure film.
That's right. You said that. I love that.
It's just so fucking effective. Yeah. That sequence with the T-Rex at night is one of the most effective sequences ever captured on film. And they did it with a blend of new and old technology. Yep. So he was just showing the mastering of these two different, totally new elements, totally old elements with just really fantastic standard effects. I just don't think you can tip your hat enough because the storytelling is just so transcendent. Everybody thinks of this movie.
This could have just been a CG movie, but it wasn't.
Oh God! Can you imagine?
They picked a bloody Michael Crichton story, which is already spectacularly written, and adapted it perfectly.
This is why the new ones don't do it for me so much. Some of my favorite trivia. There's a whole bunch of things about this on the things that Jeff mentioned, but the T-Rex would sometimes come to life, the mechanical one, when they were on set. Then like nobody knew it was there and everybody would just fucking freak out and get scared. I absolutely love that.
I mean, sure, when E.T. does it, it's cute, but when the T-Rex does it, he's an asshole. Yeah.
Guys, come at me with your go-to Jurassic Park quotes. What do you hear in your head a lot? What do you say a lot?
Well, that is one big pile of shit.
I use that at work often.
That is one big. Yeah. You know what I scream in my head all the time? Shoot her! I just fucking say that all the time in my head.
You know, I think a lot. Clever girl.
Clever girl. Oh yeah, all of his lines. He has like 10 of them. There are like 10 lines. Yeah. That opening.
Hold on your butts.
The opening is. I gotta give
anything, something. Pause. Finds a way.
Yeah, life.
No, but it's not just life. I use it on everything.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for a future ex Mrs. Malcolm. That's really great. I mean, come on, shoot her. God, honestly, there's just too many. Grunt! I do that a lot when he screams into the thing. Oh, come on! We could quote this whole movie, but this is
weird. As a voice teacher, I talk about the guys that shoot the ink at the end. I forget what they're called, but one of my students just named the dinosaur, and they were like 12, and I was like, "Yep,
Dilophosaurus."
There you go. Just like, but with like the fucking thing in the back that shoots the ink. I use that. Like, I talk about them a lot.
Yeah, we have those in Australia.
Zach Croc on the track. Honestly, there might be some of these creatures still in it. Jeff, you touched on it, but I just want to make sure everybody understands. Like, this movie was so effective. 2 points. One, it legitimately made people think, can we bring dinosaurs back? Like, I think we all we're like
very different from the TV show Dinosaurs on Nickelodeon.
Science. And just like Terminator 2, they're ignoring the warnings.
Yeah, seriously. And now the second point, now that we're here, science, the community of science now knows that dinosaurs like looked more like birds and had feathers and stuff, and I just refuse to believe it.
No,
Jurassic Park, like it is what they looked like in fucking Jurassic Park. I don't know.
Because of where they were, it was too hot, right? Because like the sun, they needed things that were softer that would deflect. It can be skin, right?
And they show the bird one. There's a bird one in the last one.
So ugly.
Like, it's just not quite the same. Anyway,
it's just like a bunch of fucking emus and your fucking Australian bird there, Dave, and a bunch of fucking peacocks running around and eating each other. It's a terrible world. I don't want to live in that world.
This is a great matchup.
Jurassic Park wins.
It's a hard matchup.
I'm going first because I already said it. So Jurassic Park for me. Dave, you might be the deciding vote here because Jeff, I think, just screamed out Jurassic Park.
Yeah, no, I think I'm going to be Jurassic Park too.
Yeah. It's so good.
But there's one line I like in Batman Returns that I didn't say, which is when Alfred tells Michael Keaton, he's like, "What? You can be the only man beast in the city? There can only be one man beast in Gotham City when the Penguin is rising." Okay, anyway, but it's fucking Jurassic Park for sure. Jurassic Park, it should be a top 4 for sure.
And we'll be right back. That was my smart list.
That's good, yeah. And then I hit plus 30 seconds 10 times.
And welcome back to the show. Yeah, like 100,000 times. Smart list. We love you. Long. Your commercials are insane. How many commercials are in your episodes are insane, you guys. I love you so much. All right.
We're back, right?
We're fucking back.
All right. Guys, 1994 against 1995. Wow. So happy Jurassic Park moved on. I was worried. No, I wasn't. But, it's like the 90s were so fun. Next week is fun. I can't fucking wait to announce next week's lineup here, but we got to get into it, people. 1994.
God, what a year. What a year.
John, what were the highest grossing movies in 1994?
Oh, my God almighty. This is another 1, 2, 3 clean, at least according to the numbers for domestic. 1, Lion King. 2, Forrest Gump. 3, True Lies. Just like boom, boom,
Jesus.
boom. June, July, just wrapping it off right there. Some other movies that you may have heard of. A little known actor had the biggest year of his fucking life, Jim Carrey. He released The Mask and Dumb and Dumber in this year, right? Didn't those come out in the same year?
And
unbelievable.
And Ace Ventura and Pet Detective.
Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, unreal. I mean, can you fucking imagine that? The Santa Claus came out. Speed. It was right in there with The Fugitive for me. Those are like those fucking, thrillers from the early 90s. Fucking fantastic. Stargate Generations. I said Star Trek. Stargate also came out. Love that movie. That was the first time I think we saw. This was before Independence Day, before Day After Tomorrow. So, goddamn it, help me out. What's his name? Who made those movies? Stargate was his first big, epic commercial success in America after coming from Germany. God damn it, what the fuck is his name? Moonfall, Independence Day, Day After Tomorrow.
Roland Emmerich.
Yeah. Thank you.
Fucking
Jesus
Moonfall. I love how Moonfall. We're like, oh yes, Moonfall.
Oh, roll it up.
Hey, that movie you fucking hated. Yeah.
A little known movie by a young auteur. Fucking Pulp Fiction, 1994. God damn it, this year, you guys. Naked Gun, 33 1/3. I really love that movie. Natural Born Killers, Angels in the Outfield, The River Wild, Time Cop.
I really like The River Wild.
Grumpy Old Men. Oh Lord, I watched that movie a fucking good job. She's got an ass so fine, it's a shame she has to sit on it. Fucking Martin. Okay, Jeff, come at me with anything else. Anything else you got? There's so many.
Honestly, there's so many. We're at this age with the movies. So many movies came out this year that like Dave's gonna kill me if I actually try to name them all. And John, you
don't do that.
I'm just gonna buzz you.
Oh no, wait. Oh no, my copy paste I just had. What the fuck just happened to my copy paste? Oh no. Anyway, okay, I think I can remember all of those anyway. A couple things happened this year. Hoop Dreams, which by the way, Hoop Dreams is a very famous basketball documentary that took place in Chicago following two inner city kids as they were trying to get recruitment for colleges. Hoop Dreams is named number 1 on the current TV special 50 Documentaries to See Before You Die. Number 1. It is like one of the best
documentaries into the commercial space. I feel like that was the first time people were like, what is that?
Yeah, it has been preserved by the Library of Congress's National Film Registry. Couple things. I'm going to come back to Lion King at the end. Shawshank Redemption only made $73 million worldwide and was famously goose-egged at the Oscars, even though getting, I think, 10 nominations, right? You talked about Jim Carrey. Gone with the Wind was the first movie to ever air on Turner Classic Movies in this year. And Pierce Brosnan was announced as Bond and Val Kilmer was announced as Batman. More on them next year. Oscars, Forrest Gump did a really good job. It won Picture. It won leading actor for Tom Hanks, who won in back-to-back years. It won Best Director for Bob Zemeckis and basically a clean sweep. Lion King did pretty well. Won some Oscars for, guys, Hans Zimmer score we're going to talk about here in a second. And then, of course, Elton John and Tim Rice won for Can You Feel the Love Tonight. 4 Weddings and a Funeral, by the way, cleaned up at the BAFTAs. So Mike Newell won for Best Director. Tom Hanks, Hugh Grant won for that. Jessica Lange wins for Blue Sky. Susan Sarandon wins the BAFTA for The Client. Jodie Foster wins for Nell, but not at the Oscars. At the Oscars, Martin Landau won for Ed Wood for Supporting Actor, except Samuel L. Jackson won the BAFTA. So that's a little contentious. Like, should Samuel L. Jackson have won for Pulp Fiction over Martin Landau for Ed Wood? It's tough. And then Diane Weiss does the clean sweep for Bullets Over Broadway. Kristen Stop, whatever. Okay, yada, yada, yada. There's just too much shit. So 2 things. Kids movies. Little Big League, Little Giants, Angels in the Outfield, Lassie, The Air Up There, Airheads, The Little Rascals, Camp Nowhere.
I don't think
Santa Claus John
Airheads is a kids movie.
Well, it's not kids, but whatever. The Olsen Twins, How the West Was Fun.
Awful. God, that was so good.
I put Junior in here just for fun. The Page Master, Richie Rich, and I also put Street Fighter in here.
Fighter, yes, dude.
And I put My Father the Hero with Gerard Depardieu and Katherine Heigl because that was on TV all the time. But really, I should segue into what I'm trying to fucking copy paste, but I think I can do it from memory. So this was also a year where a lot of kid actors who would go on to huge success came out. So Freaky Friday was this year. You had Katherine Heigl and My Father the Hero. You had Interview with the Vampire, which had Kirsten Dunst. You had Leon the Professional with Natalie Portman came out this year. Elijah Wood did another really big movie this year. D2 The Mighty Ducks came out this year. That's another kids movie. And then I love sports movies like Blue Chips. We can go Reality Bites, My Girl 2, but no Macaulay Culkin because he's dead. I don't, the Flintstones.
Does anyone remember what happened in My Girl 2? Like, did the same thing happen again? Is she a Black Widow?
Thumbelina, again, like a kids' movies. It was like all about kids this year because this is a very prude decade. Nowadays, everything's adult and the kids just have to step up. Like they watch Euphoria and shit. This was all kid shit because like it was either hard R or kids. Anyway, I don't feel like naming anymore. If I didn't mention your favorite movie, shut the fuck up. All right, moving on. Last thing with The Lion King. Let's segue into The Lion King with this. The original release made $763 million worldwide, which is pretty goddamn good. It made almost $1 billion worldwide after re-releases, which included a 3D release in 2012, which made $185 million. A 3D re-release. Think about how many movies would kill for that. Yeah. This is their 3D re-release. The Forrest Gump would go on to win to make $678 million worldwide. I should note, for those of you who don't know this, which you should, the 2019 live-action Lion King that was directed by Jon Favreau made $1.656 million worldwide, which is the 9th highest-grossing movie all time. It is ahead of The Avengers, Furious 7, and Maverick.
You said million, but you meant billion. $1.65 billion, right?
You are correct. And Jurassic World is just ahead of it, but that is right. The new live-action re-release actually significantly out-earned the original Lion King movie, but not in DVD sales for goddamn sure.
Okay, that's because they released 87 sequels.
And the Disney marketing team sleeps well at night. They literally were like, let's just remake it and re-release it, and let's get twice the people because the kids now have kids. And
this movie I've seen at least 50 times. At least 50 times.
Yeah, this is a solid. I rewatched it this week. Did you guys rewatch it?
I didn't because it is my favorite. It is my favorite Disney movie by far. I probably watch it once a year. I got it. I'm good.
This was one time I engaged in some slight video piracy because I used to, when I was working on stuff when I was younger, I had like movies going in the background and I owned all of these movies, but I duplicated them all into one 4-hour tape. So I had like Aladdin, Lion King, like just 3 fucking Disney movies on the one tape. And so I would just run it while I was working, just bop away and like, and yeah, this was one of my go-to. Like,
Dave, way to out yourself.
I owned it. I didn't distribute it.
This is another one of those following that crazy year of my Aladdin, my Jurassic Park, and now this. I remember sitting in the movie theater with like my friends, and like the children in the movie did not know what to do with when that bass drum hits at the end of Circle of Life. We were like, we were like. What the fuck? They took it so seriously. It was so intense.
This is literally what I remember sitting in the theater, and I remember it opens with just like the zebra eating grass or whatever.
Did you see
then the
trailer?
Sound starts slowly. The original trailer? Oh my God, a million times. Yeah. And so it did that a little bit. There was
no trailer. It was the Circle of Life, the whole fucking opening sequence.
But when they did it for real, and then when it ends, like I felt like I took a breath for the first time. And I was literally like, what the fuck just happened? Like I didn't even realize I was at a movie because I was just so captivated by this scene.
No one had seen animation like that when Circle of Life came out as the trailer.
That sound fucking slaps. And just the story you get when you see Simba get baptized by Rafiki and then he holds him up. That is all the backstory we need. I don't need any more backstory. It was brilliant. That is what musical comedy and musical theater can do. With one song in 2.5 minutes, I get centuries of lore. And then we can start. And then it's Hamlet. If Hamlet got to go to college after his father died. That's what this movie is.
That revolving shot around Simba when Rafiki is holding him up. They had done really excellent revolving shots in Beauty and the Beast. They had attempted some with older 2D technology, but using some of this matte imaging that they had introduced in Beauty and the Beast, there is something so intense when you reveal the look in the cub's eyes and when he's just being held there. Oh man, that opening, just Jeff, you're right on the money. One of my favorite anecdotes about the score for this movie, written by Hans Zimmer, was when in his Masterclass series, he tells the story of when I think Katzenberg was talking to him, Jeffrey Katzenberg, who ran Disney animation production at the time. He was saying, I want you to do this. And Hans Zimmer had never done any Disney movies, of course, and had mostly done like stuff with synth elements, electronic elements, and they're usually more dramatic scores. And when he was speaking with him, Hans Zimmer said, I just don't know if I'm your guy. I think my version of this is, you want me to write a tale about an estranged son killing the father, coming back, this kind of redemption. This is heavy, and I don't know if I'm the right person. And Katzenberg says, something to him like, you just go away and write exactly the score you would write if this was live action. You go away and you write the most intense, your version of this. Don't try to write a kid's movie score. And look what happened when they got somebody really brilliant to just take it seriously and do it just how they would do it.
Did you mention that his father died when he was young? Hans Zimmer's father died when he was young?
I didn't,
I forget if he mentioned that.
Yeah,
he mentioned that.
Why.
And so he actually said he didn't realize until he was in the middle of working on this that he was writing his Requiem Mass for his father.
Oh, God.
That's why it worked. Yeah.
It is so good. If you ever see the Lion King movie, the score is so good that they just turned the score into songs because the score was so good.
Was that his last Oscar before Dune?
Yeah, he only has 2. This is actually the B team. The reason that Elton John was brought in wasn't just because they wanted more pop scores. It's because Alan Menken was being kept busy with Pocahontas, which came out the next year, and they decided to spread the wealth a little bit. And actually, the Circle of Life, the African chant that came in, Elton John insisted on having somebody who was authentic to African culture come in, and they brought in a guy that the executives didn't like. I'm sure there was some racism involved, and then he wrote a chant on a napkin and started doing it. And they're like, what is that? And then he says what the words meant. And it was like exactly the point of the Circle of Life. And so Elton John wrote basically the Circle of Life around this like chant that this man had written. Anyway.
Unbelievable.
Did he do the opening as well? Like that
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Incredible. So I think a lot of us, whether or not we want to admit it, think more of the songs and the music and the African slant, the authenticity. It had just such a big effect on us compared to a lot of the other brilliant, more music theater kind of sounding songs that came from a lot of other brilliant Disney movies. But let's just try to talk about the filmmaking for a second. Like the transition in the exposition away from this prologue with Circle of Life that's so incredible to establishing the relationships within the family when he's still a child. The older I get, the more I realize that performances always matter. But if God damn it, if Jeremy Irons had not
Jeremy Irons
been so incredible at finding that perfect tone of scary comedy. Hamlet doesn't have much of a relationship with his father at the beginning of the play. It's not, they don't spend a lot of time there. So they chose to with this adaptation. But if we also didn't get a lot of, relationship with his uncle in the play, it's just like this information is kind of given to Hamlet almost as it's revealed to him. So I think in a very real way, they had a big adaptation struggle of like, how much are we going to try? We don't want it to feel too sentimental with Mufasa and Simba, but we also want to make the relationship very real between Scar and Mufasa so that Simba can witness it a little bit. And I just feel like the exposition of their relationships, one could argue that we probably need more Sarabi. We probably would have benefited from maybe having a little bit more. I feel like the only issue with this adaptation, if anybody could say anything about Lion King, is they really lean away from the issues that he might have with his mother that Hamlet leans into so heavily. They kind of just brush that to the side. And it doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah, too heavy.
Yeah, they don't really talk about it. They kind of just decide if we open that door, we're going to have to tell kids that like a lion sleeps with all the lionesses, and that might be confusing. So maybe that's why they try to lean away from it. But if Jeremy Irons is in this movie, I just don't know if we would care as much about the transition from Simba to adulthood and what he goes through. I don't know. For me, anyway, I just feel like his performance like did something to this movie that Hamlet alone may have lost children with.
Yeah, I mean, he was so good. Like he sang his song and nobody cared. Like
that song is so fucking good, dude. Be prepared. The orchestration in it is so good. Yeah. Is there any? Let me just play a devil's advocate here. Is there any part of this movie that you guys don't think is brilliant, or is this like a potentially perfect film?
Dave?
No, this is potentially a perfect film.
I think it's potentially a perfect film.
I think you're probably right.
People love Little Mermaid. People love Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. I think this movie. I know you mentioned the things about his mom. But what I would argue is it comes back at the end and he apologizes for that, and that's enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is kind of a perfect film because
on non-verbally, of course.
Yeah, because they remade it in CG. There is no live action version of this movie. They remade it in CG, and everyone was like, "Why are you doing that? You're going to ruin it. You're going to ruin it." And look, it outsold the fucking original.
I still haven't seen this remake. Is it fantastic?
I saw it in theaters.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's great. Here's the one thing I say, and people laugh at me when I say this: animals can't smile. Yeah. And so there's all these funny dialogue and stuff, and the animals just look fucking bored. You know what I mean? Like
that is true.
They don't have face muscles. So when in the actual movie when they're singing "I'm gonna be a mighty king" and he's like having the fucking time of his life and he's smiling and then in the movie it's just like this like little fucking cat. You know what I mean? Like
I did like the updated Pumbaa and Timon joke in.
I kind of don't want you to tell me. But
no, I'm not going to tell you. But like, that section of that song is different.
Oh, so it's good. Billy Eichner's really funny in it. Yeah. And John Oliver as Zazu. Can I say I've seen Ernie Sabella, who's the voice of Pumbaa, in 2 different productions, and it's so great. I hear his voice, I'm like, oh, it's fucking Pumbaa. He's got me. He's taking care of me. Yeah, of course they play. This is perfect casting. Jonathan Taylor Thomas really brought it because Steve from Full House really did a good job in Aladdin, but like Jonathan Taylor Thomas, the water hole, like I mean that's Nala, but like the whole thing, the casting is perfect. Matthew Broderick is just like this weird nerdy kind of princey dude, but like entitled at the same time. It's really maybe I could recast him, but I think he's perfect. And I mean, Nathan Lane is just absolutely perfect as Timon. It's perfect. Mufasa's
I mean,
perfect.
you've also got like Rowan Atkinson floating around in there. Whoopi's in there.
Yeah, the casting is incredible.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite
James
character?
Earl Jones, of course.
Who's your favorite character?
Ed. Growing up, it was Ed. For sure. And when I sang Christmas carols at Whoopi Goldberg's house, as we mentioned last week, talking about Ghost, all we wanted to say out loud was "cactus butt." That's all we wanted to say.
Aw, Dave,
I'm not coming out looking like you, cactus butt.
Cactus butt. Yeah, and if you ever come back, we'll kill you. Yeah, that's I hear that in my head a lot. Dave, who's your favorite character?
I actually think it was Zazu.
So, I'm glad I could totally see you.
Of course, it's Zazu.
He's funny as shit. Especially, as a kid, I was like, oh, he's funny. The older I get, the more I watch this movie. Like he was such a wonderful relief for the parental kind of perspective.
Yeah, I feel like I grew into that.
Yeah. I think for me, it's Pumbaa all the way. I just, I think they're big balls of gas burning billions. Your Majesty. every fucking line out of his mouth. Yeah. And Jeff, you said about like,
sorry. The way he says sorry after Pumbaa, not in front of the kid. Sorry.
Yeah. The best, these early second golden age Disney movies are just like the pinnacle of music theater for me. You said at the beginning and how incredible that is. I think another like, oh my God, that's what musicals can do. In a comedic song, Hakuna Matata, they skip they have a coming of age sequence. Yeah. And it's completely believable in the bridge of a song.
Yeah, he starts the song as an entitled Prince kid and he ends the song as a teen hippie. Like what else can do that in 2 minutes?
Yeah, incredible. I think one of my favorite sequences in the whole movie, which it gets me harder and harder as I get older, and I'm sure the mortality, you just get older and these things matter more.
Choose your words carefully.
Mufasa's death.
Okay. I mean, Mufasa's. I'm sorry, cousin. I'm gonna out your daughter. This is so funny. One of my cousins told me recently that she showed her kid Lion King recently, and her child got so upset during Mufasa's death that she threw up. She was so upset and crying so hard, she just started vomiting because she was so
Disney's still traumatizing kids.
Oh my God!
So yeah, that is just the way Dave,
learn.
Dave, come at me, dude. The sound editing with the timing of Mufasa's scream. He could have screamed as soon as they released him.
Scar.
But when he first, long live the king, he releases them, cut to Simba, cut back, and then they just bleed it in for just a second as he's falling away. God almighty. It's so effective. So yeah, of course that sequence is crazy.
It's not a I'm falling to my death scream. There's a little bit of rage there too.
Yeah. Yes. God. Yes, dude. James L. I don't know if that was his only take, but he nailed it. Yeah, right. I think my favorite sequence in the whole movie
just walks in for that day. I'm done. Thanks.
I'm done. He got that, and he got the scream inside the Darth Vader suit for Return of the Sith or Revenge of the Sith. I kind of hate that. Anyway, I think my favorite sequence in this whole movie. Sorry. Is when Rafiki crushes banana, but that whole sequence when he finds him and takes him to the tree. Oh, look.
Oh, yeah.
He lives in you, shows him the reflection, hits him on the head, comedic relief. They have drama. They have that. It leads into him seeing his dad in the clouds. It's just, again, with music theater and with good storytelling, in like 7 minutes, they do what may have taken like theater, 20 minutes of us to believe a human could go through that kind of transition. It's absolutely incredible.
It's just occurred to me. Do you think in Shazam, the wizard, they were channeling that character? No.
Rafiki,
yeah. Because that's the character. Like,
very possible.
The past can hurt.
His screams when Simba's running away and he's just he's got his staff up. It's just
gone.
Lady Simba going into the slow motion with the dissolves in the desert. Get out of here. Fucking brilliant. What's your favorite musical cue? No, we got to do it. Just one more time.
Okay.
Hard. Okay. The bass drum at the end of the musical cue.
When it could be a song, it could be a moment. I think
it's when Simba says, "Is anybody out there? Somebody, anybody?" And it's the da, 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 da.
Mine's the underscore at the beginning of "Just Can't Wait to Be King."
Oh, really? Yeah, that's really good. I think for me, it's definitely "Return to Pride Rock" at the end when he in the rain when he walks up. Get the fuck out. That is Hans Zimmer just weeping for his father. I mean, that is...
He was 6. I mean, that's like almost the exact age of Simba, right?
Yeah.
He was 6 years old when his father passed away, Hans Zimmer.
Brutal.
All right, we have 8 minutes to talk about. All right,
that's probably all it deserves. Let's keep going.
And that's the end of this
Last but not
discussion.
least today, 1995, where we are eventually going to talk about Batman Forever. This is, of course, the Val Kilmer, Joel Schumacher documentary. The documentary about Batman. The third Batman movie. John, what happened this year? Talk to us.
What happened this year?
Well, because we're talking about Batman Forever, I just want to preemptively.
Oh, come on! It's fun. I watched this movie a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Number 1, 2, 3. Batman Forever. Number 1 for the summer. This is incredible. Apollo 13 came out June 30th, and fantastic. We should talk. Everybody should see it again.
Yeah.
This is a big year, folks. The June 10th midsummer release. This was, as Jeff mentioned, this was Disney's push for this year. It was Pocahontas. Steven Schwartz writing music. Alan Menken coming in with, opposite. Music and Steven Schwartz on lyrics. Is that right? What turned out to be a critically kind of split film. A lot of issues, as you can imagine, with potential racism and stuff. So that movie did not do what I think they were hoping. They were hoping for Lion King repeat. So that's number 3. Some other famous movies from this year. Toy Story, November 22nd. That is number 3 on the list. Incredible. Die Hard with a Vengeance. We've talked about that movie. GoldenEye. Get the fuck out of here. GoldenEye came out in November of 1995. Crimson Tide, Waterworld, 7, Dangerous Minds, While You Were Sleeping, Congo, Mortal Kombat, Bridges of Madison County, Get Shorty, Outbreak, Braveheart, Legends of the Fall, Species, Jumanji, Babe, Clueless. I mean, the list just goes on and on. It's incredible. Dave, Jeff, give us some context.
Did you say Billy Madison?
I didn't.
Billy Madison came out on, I think he came out on Valentine's Day or something.
That is correct. When he takes his shirt off.
Yeah. Chris Farley.
Yeah.
This is, okay. This is another tightly contested year. So Die Hard with a Vengeance actually won the worldwide box office gross battle. There were 6 movies within $30 million in the worldwide box office gross. You mentioned all of them, but between $335 million and $366 million, there were 6 different movies that all made the same amount. So it's spreading the wealth. Christopher Reeves had his accident here in 1995. That happened. Pocahontas, you had mentioned this. Maybe some of the reason that it didn't do as well is that its premiere was the largest premiere ever, where it gave away 100,000 free tickets for people to see the movie at its opening in New York City's Central Park.
So cocky.
100,000. Do the math. That's millions of dollars they left on the table.
It's just going to be a shoe-in. These people will say great things.
Wow.
We'll talk more about Batman Forever in a second, of course, but it actually beat Jurassic Park's all-time opening weekend total. It went up to $52.8 million. Isn't that crazy? And this was the year of the seminal and or star-making comedies. So you had Mallrats, as you had already mentioned some of these, Happy Gilmore, Tommy Boy, Friday. Oh, this is Freaky Friday. Oops. Jury Duty with Pauly Shore reinvents 12 Angry Men. You also have Ace Ventura When Nature Calls, the sequel, and Jumanji. So again, kind of kid-centric, but comedies maybe towards like teenagers were coming out this year. Braveheart won Best Picture and Best Director. Apollo 13 obviously did well at the Oscars too, as did Sense and Sensibilities, which won a bunch of BAFTA and introduced us to, it introduced most of us to Kate Winslet, who had already been out for some things. Nicolas Cage wins an Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas. Susan Sarandon for Dead Men Walking. Sharon Stone for Casino. Did not win the Oscar. Nicole Kidman. Wait, who won the Oscar for the fucking supporting actress? But I don't know. I fucked up my writing here. Brad Pitt was in 12 Monkeys, but and Ed Harris was in Apollo 13, but they actually ended up losing to Kevin Spacey for The Usual Suspects. And Mira Sorvino won for Mighty Aphrodite at the Oscars. Kate Winslet was also nominated. And Chris McQuarrie, who you may know for taking over the Mission Impossible franchise, he won for The Usual Suspects in writing. And of course, Alan Menken wins Oscars number 7 and 8. All of those in a matter of about 6 years. 8 Oscars in 6 years for Alan Menken. Pretty good. Heat, House Guest, Before Sunrise, Quick and the Dead, Brady Bunch movies. Major Pain, Muriel's Wedding. Muriel's Wedding, Dave, Australia on the map.
Yeah, I hated that movie.
Bring me my field knife.
Basketball Diaries, Casper, Bridges of Madison County, Congo, Judge Dredd, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie comes out. First Night. 9 months, Standing in the Cupboard, The Net World, Waterworlds, Babe. I don't feel like going on anymore. This good. Balto came out this year, and Mr. Holland's Opus. Oh, and Showgirls. And Seven is another movie we talked about in this episode.
Yeah, I love Seven. God damn it.
Desperado, et cetera, et cetera. Canadian Bacon. All right, moving on.
Well, did you guys rewatch it? I'm not going to lie. I did not rewatch it this week. I saw it when we did our franchise face-off. I think I watched all of these again.
I did a speed through of it this week.
What'd you think?
So you took speed and watched it?
Yeah, right. Took speed and watched it. No, it's where I realized that all of the Jim Carrey lines are so seminal that I was like, I got it. I got the scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I am God. Yeah, so it's just all right. But let's just talk about
I re-listened to our episode, by the way. You guys let me talk too much, you motherfuckers. I did not introduce Jeff Ronan for like 5 minutes. We had a guest on that episode, and I just wouldn't shut the fuck up.
We let you talk? You tried stopping you talking?
You always give me shit for talking.
You can't even hit the right button.
No, I'm buzzing John. Fuck everybody.
All right. Yeah, I'll drink. So Jeff pointed out earlier, but just since we're in the same episode, we have to acknowledge that Joel Schumacher did he did a very, very different thing with the style than Tim Burton. Yes, it's still campy. That's probably the only word that I would still apply that lives through both of them, because his aesthetic became very, very colorful. I feel like that's probably the best
sleek
word we could use.
Sexy, yeah, sexy, sleek, yeah.
And they went as big. They were like, if Danny DeVito could go that large, like there's no bounds. So I think they gave the villains free reign to go as far as they wanted to go. Jim Carrey was on top of the fucking world at the time. So they really, when he got cast, I think they
big surprise was Tommy Lee Jones in this.
I know.
So
he's just never done this before.
Yeah, his Harvey Dent was phenomenal. I tell you what, though, if this was winning for most dramatic extras, that fucking bank guard at the beginning, hands down, this would be going through.
That's really good, folks.
He had way too much dialogue.
And the punk rock street fighting scene. Those punk rock street fighters fuck yeah.
I really like that one. Yeah, that's a really good
with
one.
Chris O'Donnell as Robin.
Incidentally, if anyone's curious, the bank guard at the beginning is Joe Grafasi, and he is still working.
Nice.
Joe, shout out, bro.
Get your SAG weeks, man.
He's done some good shit.
I mean, look, this was like, for me, I don't think I had ever really sensed as a child, especially because some of the franchises that had been really successful up until this point were, maybe some of them were family friendly, but a lot of them were maybe not so family friendly. We had not. This is a world before the new Star Wars, folks. This is a world before where we are with Marvels and stuff. So I think I was just excited to go live in another Batman movie. I think I was aware of that when I was a kid going to see this. I was like, good. This isn't the end of a trilogy. This is the beginning of them they're going to just keep churning these motherfuckers out until we stop coming, I guess. So, at the time, I thought that was really unique.
Wasn't this the fourth one?
No.
Because Batman and Robin was slotted in there as well.
That's after this one.
That was after this.
That was after this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because Robin gets the introduction in this. Yeah.
Yes. With the flying, what's his family's name?
Willindas.
The Flying Graysons.
Or it's a knockoff of the Willindas, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a knockoff of the Flying Willindas.
That's a good sequence. I like that sequence.
It is a great
when
sequence,
the family dies. Really cool, fun, theatrical way to handle death and tragedy. The camera coming up to him, the zoom in at the top, the slow motion of them falling. It's just the ridiculous staged lighting. It really worked. At the same time, even as a child, Dave, tell me if you felt differently. I remember feeling like it was so different than Tim Burton's that, of course, people were going to be hating a little bit, but I remember hearing about how much even, people were making fun of this movie. They were making fun of Val Kilmer. They were making fun of Joel Schumacher for not just pretending to be Tim Burton.
That's the DC crowd as well. Like I think this was the beginning of loving to hate DC. And because even now they still get the review bombs and people just critiquing the fuck out of this all their movies. Sometimes with grounds, in this case, possibly, but a lot of the times without grounds. And this one just, it was something different. It was a huge culture difference. We had a different Batman. We had two very big villains who just overshadowed him at every turn. Jim Carrey's come in on the background of a huge comedy career, And it's like, he's playing the Riddler. What's he going to do? And of course, he's just running amok the whole fucking movie. I enjoyed Tommy Lee Jones keeping it a little bit grounded.
He tried.
Not much, but a little bit.
Like, he was
grounded. Yeah.
He very famously did not like working with Jim Carrey.
Yeah, no. He said he hated all his movies,
which is a shame. I want to mention, because Jeff mentioned it in our talk about the first Batman a couple episodes ago. After Tim Burton dropped out and was not going to direct this third one, Warner Brothers offered the Riddler, I guess, as a hope to just try to package together a really great cast and maybe attract another really good director. They offered it to Robin Williams. And he said no because he was still pissed at them for trying to bait him with the Joker. So I thought that was an interesting piece of trivia. Val Kilmer and Jim Carrey became good friends, apparently, bonding over their the death of their fathers as young men. Thought they kind of heavy.
I felt like it was a shame to throw Nicole Kidman into this mix and give her the worst fucking dialogue ever written.
What about Drew Barrymore?
I mean, Drew Barrymore was a cameo.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's forgettable, and it's just I don't know. I don't feel like you made a throwaway comment at the end of our first conversation about Kim Basinger and what her character does.
I'm not quite sure how to say this.
Yeah. But I don't know. For this one, it just seems like, everybody in this cast is huge, but to not try to create a real character with a real point of view with somebody like Nicole Kidman, who was clearly destined to be a fucking superstar and was already rising quickly, just seems like kind of a missed opportunity. But was there too much going on in this movie? We've already talked about this movie before.
It's too much, but
I think so. Dave. Yeah, I know. I think so. Like, you got two massive megastars as the villains, but of course, then they did the same thing straight after that on the back of it.
Yeah,
but I mean, three if you count Nicole Kidman. Yeah.
The Danny DeVito thing, Michelle Pfeiffer thing, I think worked because Michelle Pfeiffer's hardly in that movie. Whereas in this one, they kind of had to double, like they each had equal sort of screen time. So there was a lot. And then you got the introduction of Robin and his journey where he's like stealing the Batmobile and shit. Yeah. Like, there was a lot. Like, they had a whole fucking origin story for a character in this.
Yeah. And Jeff, do you feel the same way that you did about Returns, just really quickly, that a lot of the Bruce Wayne, like moving in and out of his actual life it's almost non-existent in this film?
True, but there's a lot of Batman. At least I get more of him and Alfred in this. I actually like the single bat thing that he talked about. Not so much with Alfred in this, but I like that we almost like go back to Batman's origin story because it like gives us just like a little bit more time to ground him. I think Val was a good Batman. He did a good job. I know in hindsight, he was like, this suit was so heavy that he realized like he was literally just the person that could literally hold the suit. That was his job. He hated it. So every single thing about it. He turned down so much money to do the second one. We're talking like tens of millions of dollars, and it had to go to George Clooney. Fun. Yeah, George, that's funny. But I love it's sleek. I already said this, the sleek and sexy. I mean, the blue lights everywhere. There's so many lights. It did make Batman seem kind of cool, even though the movie itself, it was a good rewatch because you could tune out and go to the bathroom and stuff. And I know that's condescending, but that's it's just the truth. There's just so much going on in this. And the Jim Carrey lines, he was the biggest star, but it's buffoonery.
You were just saying, don't watch this on Adderall. Like, there's a lot going on.
That might be, Jeff, you're right, though. And I feel like I'm imagining a young Chris Nolan watching, because even the heightened theatricality of Tim Burton, I'm imagining him as a younger man, teens, maybe probably 20s, and he's seeing this, and this is the beginning of somebody like him thinking, why can't we just ground these characters? And why can't we raise the stakes and not rely on the style of campiness? What if we actually put them in a reality and there were consequences? Because I feel like this was the first one, even as a child, when I was seeing this, I remember just thinking, I'm not worried anymore. The Penguin scared me. Jack Nicholson was like bothersome. This one was the first time where I felt like this is all really silly. And it's still fun, but it's very silly. So I'm not concerned at all about anything that's happening ever in this movie. And, for better or for worse.
The closest they ever got for me with Riddler was in The Batman, the Robert Pattinson film, where the Riddler was basically almost a Saw-style serial killer.
Terrifying.
Yeah, dude, that was fucking super effective.
Yeah.
Well, let's vote.
Let's do it.
Yep.
I'm going for Batman Forever. I'm kidding.
No, you're not.
Yeah, me too. No.
Let's throw a wrench in it. Let's throw a wrench in it and just wild card Batman Forever into the.
No way. I will say this. I did think at some point, I was like, is there a way to vote back in Ghostbusters and Raiders? But I actually think Lion King is good enough that I don't think that's going to happen. I think those movies are done. This is how it is.
Or Joel Schumacher, by the way. Brilliant,
we'll
brilliant
see.
man.
All right, Joel. Dave, you already have something up your goddamn sleeve.
Maybe there's a poll in our future. Who knows?
Oh, yeah. I hear you, Dave.
Although that would fuck up the bracket like I did last time.
I think we got to let Ghostbusters and Raiders die, even though Raiders really could be an all-timer summer blockbuster movie. I think we got to let it die. I don't know.
All right, so can we list off, does somebody have it in front of them? Can we, up until now, can we list off what's moving forward just so we can catch people up?
So Jaws and Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, E.T., Back to the Future, and Top Gun.
Do you not have it in front of you? You just got you're going off memory?
He's going off memory, yeah.
Batman, 1989, and 1991.
Terminator 2.
Terminator 2, and then these two.
And now Jurassic Park and Lion King.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
No, I don't think... Matt and Mark, I know you guys are probably upset, but I feel like most people would agree with us that's a pretty strong list. I'm excited to keep moving forward. List.
I mean, the first one was hard. The second one wasn't.
Next week, guys. Next week.
Yes. Ready? 1996. I said his name earlier. Roland Emmerich's Independence motherfucking Day. Independence Day, baby. Let's go. God, I'm excited to rewatch it. 1997. Men in Black. Will Smith, back to back. And then 1998.
That's going to be interesting.
Still the highest grossing, just to throw it out, we'll talk about it more, by far is Titanic is still the highest grossing in 1998. No one's even close. But Armageddon is 1998's versus 1999. We're finally back in action. They are back. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. We're into the franchise now of Star Wars coming back. So that's going to be an exciting week. Check us out next time. Week. Yeah, I'm excited.
All right. Well, that is the sound of us heading into our final segment of the week. Cheers, guys. Another good episode where we give you our recommendations for the week in our segment. What you've been watching. Dave, we'd love to start with you. Dave, what you been watching?
I haven't really caught anything this week. We're still going through X-Files. Every chance we put X-Files on. Yeah, we talked about The Flash. I went and saw that at the very first screening. And yeah, go and see it. You'll have fun. Like it's the end of the the DC EU era, but it does kind of set up a little bit. So like stay for the one credit scene because it's
cool.
I mean, it's informational, but it's also kind of funny.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
John?
I started Perry Mason, the series.
Oh, the HBO show?
Yeah, on HBO.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I think if you like, period noir set in LA, Perry Mason, obviously a famous character in television from the 60s. Mm-hmm. It's fun. If you want to go live in that world, they're doing a good job, and it's kind of exactly what you think it is in a good way.
Yeah, I've done season 1.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm almost done with 1. I also watched, and this was just fun, Max. On Max, there's a very short 4-episode docuseries kind of celebrating the 100 years of Warner Brothers. So it kind of just breaks it into 4. And I enjoyed watching that. And
100 years of fucking with your own product.
And I finished, did I say this? Jeff, had you and I finished the Smartless on the Road docuseries last week? Have we finished? I'm done with it now. I enjoyed it. I thought it ended well. I liked.
Nice.
I liked the last couple episodes a lot. How about you?
So I saw The Flash with Dave in the theaters. Not sitting together, of course. I'm caught up on Silo, which I like. I still like it. I think they could have done the whole series in 8 episodes, but it looks like they're going for 10. That's fine. I rewatched Garden State. It's a long story, but I rewatched that, and I feel like I rewatched another movie that's a wild movie that I rewatched, and I already forget. This is what I get. I should be writing these down on Letterboxd, and I forget. I rewatched. There's another movie that I rewatched That's
Good
a good one.
stuff. So those are the three movies that Jeff recommended.
Yeah, there's one thing
like
and two
Garden
other
State,
things you
though.
can't remember.
That's right.
But
That's
watch
right.
them. We don't know what they are, but watch
I
them.
always do them like early in the week, and then I forget them by the end. I don't need. You don't know me.
Sure. We don't know.
Ford versus Ferrari. I rewatched Ford versus Ferrari.
Oh,
it was
God,
really fun.
so good. I love
It's
it.
so good, man. So good.
In celebration of the new Indiana Jones, same director. Is that why you did that?
That's right, James
Sure.
Mangold
Yeah,
for sure.
sure.
All right,
looking
people,
forward to
join
that.
us next week where we get to talk about some really, really fun '90s summer blockbuster movies. Can't wait. See you soon.
Boom.